Have you ever noticed something small in someone you love, something so subtle, it didn't seem important at first? Maybe your father started skipping meals. Your grandmother stopped calling as often. Or your elderly neighbor, who used to wave every morning, now just sits quietly by the window. You told yourself, it's probably nothing. Just old age. But deep down, something didn't feel right. And then, weeks, maybe months later, it all made sense. You see, the signs that someone may be nearing the final year of their life. They don't always come loudly. They don't always come with hospital beds and medical alerts. Sometimes, they come in whispers, a quiet withdrawal, a tired smile, a plate of food left untouched. It's easy to miss. And even easier to explain away. But what if you knew what to look for? What if you could spot those small shifts before it's too late to do something with them? Not to fix what can't be fixed, but to make sure that person feels seen, cared for, respected, loved. Because when someone we care about may be living their final year, we don't always get a warning. We get hints. Little warnings wrapped in everyday moments. And that is why this video matters. Because knowing what to watch for, really watch for, can be the difference between rushing to say goodbye and being there, truly present, while there's still time to hold their hand, hear their voice, and say what needs to be said. So today, we're going to walk through 5 subtle signs that might mean an elderly person is in their final year. Some of these might surprise you. Some might even feel familiar. But every one of them carries a quiet truth, a truth that can prepare you, guide you, and maybe even bring peace in a season that's often filled with fear and confusion. If you want to understand your loved ones better, if you're walking through this stage of life with a parent, a spouse, a friend, or even yourself, then stay with me. Because this might be one of the most important things you'll ever hear. And before we begin, I'd love for you to comment, "I'm here," just to let me know you're walking this journey, too. And if this kind of honest, compassionate guidance matters to you, go ahead and subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide. We're in this together, and there's so much more we'll discover along the way. Now, let's begin. Let's start with the first sign, a sudden loss of appetite or interest in food. Think about this. Your grandfather, the one who used to wake up early just to make his famous Sunday pancakes, the ones everyone looked forward to, now barely finishes a piece of toast. You ask if he's hungry and he smiles politely, maybe says, "I'm fine." But the plate stays full. The kitchen grows quieter. And that old joy around mealtime, it slowly disappears. At first, you might think it's just a phase. Maybe he's just not in the mood, or maybe the food's too bland. You might even wonder if it's the meds, or if he's just being stubborn. But what if it's more than that? See, as a person nears the final chapter of their life, their body begins to change in very real ways. The digestive system slows. The liver and kidneys don't filter as efficiently. The metabolism takes a back seat, and the body simply doesn't ask for food the way it once did. In fact, eating can sometimes feel uncomfortable for them. Like trying to fill a tank that's no longer running the same way. And here's where it gets tricky. Because for many families, this loss of appetite sends off alarm bells. So we start urging them to eat. We bring their favorite dishes. We say things like, "You need to eat to stay strong," without realizing that pushing food might actually make them feel worse. It's not about giving up, it's about shifting the goal. In these moments, comfort matters more than calories. Instead of a full plate, offer small, nourishing bites they can enjoy without effort. Think soft fruits, warm broths, a spoonful of pudding. Focus on hydration, clear soups, herbal teas, even iced chips if that's all they'll take. Because what they need now isn't a meal, it's a moment of ease. A sense of care, not pressure. And this change in eating habits, it's not just a physical shift. It's often the body's quiet way of preparing. Preparing to slow down, to let go, to move gently toward the end. But food isn't the only thing that fades during this time. Sometimes, the energy, the drive to move, to speak, to simply stay awake, starts to slip away too. The second sign? Persistent and deep fatigue. Let me paint you a picture. Your grandmother, she used to be the heartbeat of the home. She'd knit by the window, hum her favorite old songs, and somehow always had the energy to check in on everyone else. But now, she sleeps late, naps mid-morning, dozes off in the afternoon, and barely stays awake through dinner. Even talking feels like too much. Her voice is softer. Her movements slower. You ask her if she wants to go outside, and she says, "Maybe tomorrow, dear," but tomorrow comes, and the fatigue remains. This isn't just being tired. This is her body slowly powering down. As the final chapter nears, the body often shifts into preservation mode, saving what little energy remains for essential functions. The heart may not be pumping as efficiently. Oxygen levels might be lower, especially if the lungs or other organs are weakening. Even the muscles, once strong and steady, begin to feel heavy, even after doing so little. It's like the body is dimming its lights. Quietly. Gently. Now here's the hard part. Families often misread this. They say things like, "You just need to get moving," or "You've been lying down all day. No wonder you feel tired." And while it's well-meaning, it's not what that person needs. This isn't laziness. It's not boredom. And it's certainly not something they can just snap out of. This kind of exhaustion runs deep. It's cellular. It's the body saying, "I need to slow down now." So, what can you do? Respect the rest. Let them nap without guilt. Create a soft space, dim lighting, cozy blankets, silence if they want it. Maybe hold their hand quietly. Maybe just sit with them. No need for conversation. Just presence. Don't try to fill every moment with activity. Instead, fill it with peace. Because in this stage, comfort is more meaningful than productivity. And here's something to remember: fatigue isn't always about sleep. Sometimes, it's about the weight of the world becoming just a bit too much to carry. But not all signs show up in the body. Sometimes, the shifts happen in how they connect to the world, in their conversations, their eye contact, and the way they slowly begin to turn inward. The third sign is one many people overlook: withdrawal from social activities and conversations. Picture this. Uncle Joe, he used to light up the room during game night. He had a joke for every moment, kept score like it was the Olympics, and could never resist teasing someone over a missed card. He was the soul of every family gathering. But lately, he shows up, sits in his favorite chair, and barely says a word. He smiles when spoken to but rarely starts a conversation. When someone jokes, he chuckles, but only faintly. And if you ask why he's quiet, he might just say, "I'm just tired tonight." But, is that really all? You see, as the body begins its final preparations, the mind and spirit often follow. There's a gentle turning inward. A shift of focus away from the noise of the outside world, and towards something quieter, more internal. This withdrawal isn't always about sadness or boredom. In many cases, it's not depression. It's not that they don't love you anymore. It's not that they don't enjoy your company. It's that their world is becoming smaller, and that's okay. The brain begins to conserve energy, just like the body. Speech may feel like a chore. Small talk, which once came naturally, now takes effort they no longer have. And emotionally, many begin to reflect, to process, to prepare. Sometimes it's peaceful. Sometimes it's quiet acceptance. But here's where it's easy to misstep. You might think, we just need to cheer them up. So you turn on music, invite friends over, try to rekindle their old spark. You mean well, but you might actually be adding pressure to someone who just wants to rest in silence. So, what can you do? Be with them. Gently. Silently if needed. Sit beside them without expecting a response. Hold their hand if they'll let you. Let them speak only if they feel like it. Sometimes, your quiet presence is the loudest expression of love. Don't measure their engagement by how much they talk. Measure it by the peace on their face when you're simply there. Because in this season, companionship isn't about entertainment, it's about comfort. And sometimes, silence says everything. But not all signs are hidden in behavior. Some, you can actually see. In the face, the hands, the skin. The fourth sign is one that touches your hands, your eyes, and your heart. Noticeable physical decline, frailty, weight loss, or slowed movement. Imagine this. You're helping your mother up from her favorite chair. She reaches for your arm like she always does, but this time, her grip feels weaker. Her skin, so soft and thin now, almost feels like it could tear under too much pressure. And her body, lighter than you remembered. You steady her as she stands, and for a brief second, she sways. You catch her. She smiles. Says she's fine. But something inside you knows. Something has changed. Here's what you might not realize. Yes, we all slow down with age. Yes, muscle loss is a normal part of growing older. But when this decline becomes sudden, when you notice a sharp drop in weight or strength, when a person who once moved with ease now struggles to get from the couch to the kitchen, that's not just aging. That's the body pulling back its resources. The systems that once kept balance, coordination, and strength running smoothly. They're now operating at their limits. Muscle mass begins to vanish quickly. Bones become more fragile. Even holding one's own posture can become exhausting. And here's what's often misunderstood. People see their loved one slowing down and say, well, that's just what happens when you get old. But when the change feels too fast, or comes with bruises, stumbles, or shrinking clothes, it's time to look deeper. This kind of frailty isn't just aging. It's the body preparing to rest. So, what can you do? Make their world safer. Softer. Simpler. Install grab bars in the bathroom. Remove loose rugs. Keep walking paths clear. Use walkers, canes, or chairs with arms to help them rise gently. Let comfort, not routine, guide the day. If walking is too much, suggest sitting by a window instead. Let them feel the sun, watch the trees move, hear life without needing to chase it. Because at this stage, ease is everything. Help their body feel supported, so their spirit can stay light. But you know, not all signs of the final year show up in the body. Some are hidden even deeper, in the emotions they carry, and the things they begin to say. The fifth and final sign may be the hardest to explain, but also, in its own quiet way, the most profound, a deep sense of peace, or what some call letting go behavior. It doesn't always begin with words. Sometimes, it starts with actions. You notice she's giving away things. Not just clutter, but items that mattered. A bracelet passed down from her mother. An old photo from her wedding day. Your grandfather's watch, carefully tucked into a box with your name written on it. You ask, why now? She just smiles and says, it's time. Then there are the conversations. She brings up people she hasn't spoken about in years, reaches out to old friends, or talks about forgiving someone who hurt her long ago. She starts saying things like, I've had a good life, or I'm ready whenever God calls me. At first, it might catch you off guard. You might feel tempted to reassure her, to say, don't talk like that, or you're not going anywhere. But here's the truth, this isn't her giving up. This isn't sadness. This is clarity. When someone nears the end, something shifts deep inside. They often gain a kind of emotional and spiritual understanding that can't be explained. They begin to reflect, to release, to reach peace. They no longer worry about tomorrow. They're not chasing more time. They're savoring what's left of the moment. And while this can be incredibly difficult for the family to witness, to hear their loved one speak with such finality, it's often not a sign of despair. In fact, it can be a beautiful sign of readiness. Now, many people confuse this with depression. They think their loved one needs cheering up, or that they're giving in to hopelessness. But in many cases, it's quite the opposite. It's acceptance. It's grace. It's peace. So, what can you do? Let them feel heard. Let them speak without correction. If they say they're ready, don't rush to say they're wrong. Instead, hold their hand and say, I'm here. I love you. I'm grateful for you. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give is to simply honor their truth. Their journey is personal. And if they've found peace, let that peace be yours, too. Because in this stage, love doesn't always look like trying to fix things. Sometimes, love means allowing them to rest. And now, if you've seen even one of these signs in someone you love, you understand how heavy that realization can be. You're not alone in this, and you don't have to carry it without support. Let's take a moment to reflect on what all of this means, together. It's never easy watching someone you love begin to fade. Not just in body, but in energy, in presence, in spirit. You see them pulling away from the routines they once cherished. You notice the quiet moments stretching longer. The silences getting heavier. The sparkle in their eyes dimming, little by little. And it hurts. Because no matter how prepared you think you are, no one is ever really ready to say goodbye. What's even harder is the helplessness. Standing there, not knowing what to do. Wondering if you're doing enough. Questioning if you missed something. Wishing for more time, more clarity, more chances. But here's something you need to hold on to, you're not powerless. You have something now that many never get, awareness. You've seen the signs. You've felt the shift. And because of that, you can turn that awareness into something incredibly meaningful. You can turn it into presence. Into gentle care. Into moments that matter. You can choose to show up, not just physically, but emotionally. To be still with them. To listen to the stories they tell, even if they've told them 100 times before. To hold their hand without rushing. To speak their name with warmth and familiarity. You can help make sure they don't spend these final days feeling invisible, forgotten, or burdensome. Because they're none of those things. They're still here. They still matter. So, here's something simple you can do today. Pick up the phone. Call them. Stop by for a visit if you can. Don't wait for the right moment. Don't put it off until next week. Today matters. This moment matters. And if they're not here anymore, carry their stories forward. Live a little kinder because of them. Be a little more patient with others. That's love that never fades. Because here's the truth. The final year of life doesn't have to be cold. It doesn't have to be filled with fear. It doesn't have to be marked by what's lost. It can be a time of reflection. Of grace. Of deep human connection. It can be filled with soft laughter, shared memories, long hugs, and the healing power of just being there. This chapter, as hard as it is, can still be beautiful. And with the right awareness, with your open heart, you can help make sure it is. So, let's take a moment to breathe, and gently revisit what we've uncovered together today. We talked about 5 subtle, but deeply meaningful, signs that an elderly person may be approaching their final year of life. First, we explored loss of appetite. Not just being picky, but a real, internal shift where the body no longer craves food the way it once did. Then, we looked at extreme, persistent fatigue. That heavy tiredness that rest doesn't seem to fix, because the body is working harder just to stay steady. Next came social withdrawal. The quiet retreat from conversations, from activities, from the things they used to love. Sometimes peaceful. Sometimes hard to watch. We moved on to physical decline. The weight loss, the frailty, the slower steps. Signs we often dismiss as just old age, but that could mean something deeper. And finally, we arrived at perhaps the most tender sign, a deep emotional closure. Letting go. Giving things away. Making peace. Each of these signs carries weight. Each one deserves your attention. Not to sound the alarm, but to open your heart wider. To help you prepare with love, instead of regret. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you seen any of these signs in someone you care about? Maybe in a parent, a grandparent. Or maybe, you've even begun noticing these things in yourself. Share your story in the comments. Not only does it help others feel less alone, but you might be the voice someone else needed to hear today. And if this video helped you feel even a little more prepared, a little more grounded in this emotional journey, consider liking it and subscribing to Elderly Wisdom Guide. This channel is here for you, with honest, heartfelt advice for every stage of the aging journey. We walk this path together. With grace. With compassion. With dignity. So, thank you for spending this time with me. For your open mind, and your even more open heart. Until next time, stay kind. Stay aware. And always remember, the smallest acts of love make the biggest difference. I'll see you in the next video.